What's up, y'all? I'm Mike the Money Motivator. Today in this video, I want to go over some of my pet animal hospital emergency experience. And I want to talk about common emergency hospital visits that are preventable. The average animal hospital visit is anywhere from $3,000 to $8,000. In this video, I want to save you a big emergency bill for common mistakes that pet owners make to put themselves in the hospital. One common mistake that pet owners make is feeding pets human food. Certain human foods are okay, really just chicken. The reason why feeding human food to your pet is not a good idea. Some dogs, mainly larger dogs, can probably maintain that for a long time. They can probably do that for 5-6 years without any symptoms, but there is a high possibility that they will show symptoms from eating human food. And the reason why human food isn't good for dogs is because the dogs don't process them very well. So human food can cause pancreatitis, which is inflammation in the pancreas. Pancreatitis will show symptoms like most commonly diarrhea, if it's very bad, even pain in the abdomen, and loss of appetite. So feeding your pet human food is best to just stay away from. Another common emergency visit that we see regularly that's human caused is riding with your dog in the car with the window down. Yes, the dog does love the wind in his hair, but we are talking about a very predictable creature, but also sometimes takes unpredictable actions. So many times where I see a dog come in that was hit by a car because they jumped out of the window while the owner was driving. Another common human caused mistake that owners make for their pet is changing their food. Your dog and cat's digestive system is a lot more sensitive than ours. So when it comes to food, they need a little routine. Also, when it comes to food, it goes out how it comes in. So if you feed your pet dry food, it's gonna come out solid. If you feed your pet wet food, it's gonna come out loose. If you feed your pet dry food normally and then switch to another dry food, that could cause diarrhea. If you feed your pet dry food normally and then switch to wet food, that could cause diarrhea as well. In some cases, that may not necessarily be an emergency hospital visit. It may just need some fluids or antibiotic. It's an unnecessary bill that's avoidable. Another common mistake we see pet owners make that costs them thousands of dollars is walking their dog without a leash. Walking their dog without a leash or walking their dog with a retractable leash. Remember, we're talking about a creature that's predictable, but can take unpredictable actions. So if you're walking your dog without a leash, that's perfect opportunity for them to get hit by a car, for them to bite someone and cause a lawsuit, or for them to run away and you have to pay for a significant amount of poster postings and advertisements to find your pet back. In regards to the retractable leash, the reason why the retractable leash can place your pet in the hospital is, imagine if your dog decides to chase something or someone while on that leash, and they run around a tree and get wrapped around. That retractable leash gives them extra freedom to run and play as they please, and they can get tangled around something and choke themselves out. The retractable leash can also cause harm to the human as well. If your dog somehow is running and chasing something and you get tangled in it, I have seen people get a leash burn from the retractable leash. A lot of people like them. My advice is just to avoid them, to make sure you keep your pet out of the emergency hospital. Another common mistake we see owners make when it comes to an emergency hospital, this is not necessarily a mistake, but it can be avoidable. And I'm talking about a foreign body surgery. A lot of pets like to eat random things. The best way to avoid a foreign body surgery is if your pet is loose at night while you're sleeping, you can give them their own room, you could give them their own crate. Chances are, if you're sleeping, they're probably sleeping as well. So that may not be necessary. If you wanted to guarantee it through the hours that you're sleeping, those would be the best option. Another way to avoid a foreign body surgery is to remove any possibility of a foreign body. The 3 most common foreign bodies I see dogs eat are tampons, socks, and toys. Those items, make sure that they are nowhere accessible for the dog. If you have a trash can in your bathroom, you may want to throw your tampon in a larger trash can or put it in a grocery store bag to take it outside immediately. Another common hospital visit I see with dogs is stress colitis. If you do a lot of traveling, you have to put your pet in a pet's hotel or leave them with a stranger, or even if you leave them home by themselves for a significant amount of time, some pets can develop diarrhea just from that stress and that uncertainty. Which brings me to the next way that you could probably avoid a hospital visit for your pet. We see a lot of traffic in the emergency hospital during holiday season. During holiday season, there's a lot of cooking. Dogs get into human food that can cause pancreatitis and diarrhea symptoms. Feeding your pet human food is best to just stay away from. During Halloween, there's a lot of candy laying around. Candy for dogs is almost like poison, and that normally is like a 2 to 3 day hospitalization visit where we give them a significant amount of IV fluids and we give them a medication to try to extract the chocolate from their system. Other holiday stress for pets is 4th of July and New Year's Eve. A lot of pets come in through the stress of the firecrackers. Now that's something you probably can't avoid too well, but just don't be the one doing it at your house to guarantee the stress of your pet to send them in the hospital. Another thing we see in the emergency room that is avoidable by the pet owners is dog fights. A lot of dog time at dog parks, owners meet each other and they want their pets to meet each other too. Pets do have a say-so on who they want to be friendly with and who they don't want to be friendly with. If you want to introduce your pet to another dog, I would do it on a very slow, incremental process. A lot of times when a dog doesn't like another dog, they may try to attack or chase them immediately. There are some dogs that may try to play it off initially and then attack them, and that's why it's best avoid the playmates unless you're certain that they will get along with each other. Another common reoccurrence in hospital visits that I see normally is owners not following doctor's directions with prescriptions. If your dog is a diabetic and they're prescribed insulin, it has to be given with the instructions that the doctor gives. Insulin must be given after a meal. If your dog doesn't eat and your doctor tells you not to give the insulin, then follow the doctor's orders. Don't decide on your own or follow Dr. Google to decide you're going to give the insulin anyways and send your baby into the emergency hospital because you didn't follow instructions. And that also goes with other medications. In our emergency hospital, we give detailed instructions on how to give medications in certain times. The reason being is that some medications don't mix well with others, so they need to be given at separate times. Another mistake I see is allowing your pets to freely roam in the backyard. This one is a lot safer. Some dogs can dig their way under the fence and find their way out. Some dogs are even capable of jumping over the fence. Ideally, when it comes to that, it's best for them to be outside on a leash. If you do want your pet to free roam in the backyard, I recommend 2 things. You need to give them a microchip so that way if someone finds them, they can have the information to the owner and they can call you immediately. But also you can put a tracker on their collar so that way you can find them without someone finding them and bringing them into a hospital to use the microchip reader. One thing I mentioned earlier that's stressful for your pet that can cause stress, colitis, and diarrhea is leaving your pet at home when you go on a trip. But another thing that can cause a stress, colitis, and diarrhea on your pet is if you take your dog on a trip. If you have to take your dog on a flight, this is something that I definitely don't recommend against. I've done it before. But that is something that can cause stress, colitis in your pet. They are confined in a carrier for a certain amount of time. The movement of the plane, there's a lot of uncertainty, and animals don't like uncertainty. That's it, y'all. That's all I could think of at the moment. I'm sure there's many ways that pet owners cause a significant hospital bill on themselves. If you reach out to me in the comments about a question that you have, I can answer the question to the best of my ability. The best advice, if you have any questions, is to call an emergency hospital immediately. Even if you're uncertain, if you're for sure, whatever the case is, call the emergency hospital. Because the last thing I'm going to mention in this video today is prolonging sickness. A lot of people spend much more money in the emergency hospital because they went a week without their dog eating, which is understandable to a certain degree. You want to monitor your pet. You want to see if, okay, maybe he's just having an off day and maybe he's gonna start eating again. By the time it's day 5, whatever the reason that your dog is not eating, it's progressively getting worse. The longer you wait with symptoms is probably the more your hospital visit is gonna be. It's also good to call if you're uncertain because just for a visit and an assessment in an emergency hospital is over $100. That's it, y'all. I'm Mike the Money Motivator. I hope this video was helpful. Don't be the reason that your pet goes into the emergency hospital. Make sure you like and subscribe to see me every week for financial tips.